Good morning. Let's get ready for a beautiful ride this morning. But first we must warm up, especially for these early morning starts. Especially. So sit up like I am. Just allow your arms to fall to your sides. Maybe straighten out your spine and neck a little bit. Make sure to keep your resistance really low right now and your pedal speed slow. Just turn the legs nice and easy. I like to feel my spine, my neck aligned, carrying the weight of my upper body down through the hip bones into the saddle. I also shake out my arms a little bit. We can return our hands to the handlebars. And now let's get comfortable here by just checking the weight on our hands and the elbows. And the shoulders are relaxed. The spine and the neck aligned so that we have just a little 10-foot or so gaze out in front of us. Accelerating the legs up to about 90 RPM now. I had to add a little bit of resistance there. Mine was a little too light. $85 to 90 RPM. Still very light resistance. Now we can pay attention to the hips. Operating separately from the upper body. Decoupled, as I say. And take a couple nice deep breaths from your belly. Help relax the upper body. Let's adjust the resistance just a little bit higher. So that we feel like the muscles are engaging a little bit more than before, but nothing too strenuous, nothing too uncomfortable, nothing uncomfortable at all. Just feeling those muscles engage a little bit more with that extra resistance as we hold 90 RPM. You might notice now that your heart rate is coming up a little bit. If you don't have a heart rate monitor on, you'll notice your breath is picking up a little bit. Once again, just check in with your upper body. Notice how it's feeling. Where any tension might be. Notice what your legs are feeling right now. We should feel some warmth coming into the muscles now. Let's speed up our legs. Let's come into the mid-90s, maybe to 100, keeping the resistance the same. As we come into these higher pedal speeds, the hips will tend to bounce a little bit. So we can work on settling the hips down and stitching together that smooth pedal stroke that keeps the hips nicely settled on the saddle. It's a challenge to keep the hips steady with light resistance and fast pedaling like this. It's a great opportunity to practice how you distribute your weight onto the bars and to the handlebars. I mean the bars and the seat. How you distribute the weight between those two. This is really hurting the muscles of your legs. Take a little resistance out. Our only goal now is to bring a little warmth into the muscles and just start to feel more suppleness in the pedal stroke. Slowly let the legs slow down now. Way down. And sit up again. Notice where your breathing is at this moment. Notice how your legs feel at this moment. Beautiful. Come on back down to the handlebars. Check your position, your elbows and shoulders. Bring your legs to 90 RPM again. Still at the same resistance we were before. Now reach down. Add some resistance. It feels like we're into the working zone now. Where there's a little bit of discomfort in the muscles of the legs now. It feels like this is a challenge. I'm messing up my words this morning. I'm smiling at myself because I'm messing up so many words. I don't know why. I was going to say feel likes. Feel likes. So we're at 90 RPM. This feeling should be as if we're now on a flat, I don't know, imagine a cycling path somewhere. Very flat, smooth surface. And we're exercising at this point. So I can feel the tension in the muscles of the legs now. And I notice my breathing is starting to pick up. There's more warmth in the muscles. My heart rate is picking up now. My breathing's picking up. I just took a deep breath from my belly. Let's see if we can't just settle into this a little bit. This level of exertion for me is such that my breathing is noticeably picking up. My legs feel very warm now, and I can feel sweat starting to form on my forehead. You can hear my breathing. So I'm challenging myself a bit, upping the level of work now. What I love is this feeling in the muscles changing under challenge. It's a great thing to pay attention to. Keeping your resistance exactly the same. Don't touch it. Just slow your legs down now. Let's sit up again. Just notice now how much resistance you have. Very often when we slow down from that to something super slow like this, you'll go, wow, there's some resistance on there. Sometimes it's even hard to keep it going this slow. It's a way of measuring the work you were doing at faster pedal speeds. So we're going to go back to that 90 RPM, but then we're going to accelerate to 100. Same effort as last time, back at 90 RPM, then we'll add effort by speeding up to 100 RPM. And you'll notice that that increase from 90 to 100 RPM is really not linear. Just adding 10 RPM per minute seems to increase the workload by maybe 30% or more. So notice that when we do it. It's part of the practice. Coming back to our handlebars, come back to 90 RPM. Making sure to extend our pedal stroke through the bottom. Visualize that happening, then transition to the scraping of the mud off the ball of your foot for that back part of the pedal stroke, then using the hip flexors to unweight the pedal, take the weight of your leg off the pedal so the pedal can come up as you're pushing down with the other leg. All right, we're back into work level now. And it should feel that way. Let's go ahead and bring it up to 100 RPM now. Remember to keep your upper body steady, stable, decouple the hips and the upper body. Now slow back down to 90 RPM. What did that do to your breathing and heart rate? Feels like 30% more effort just by adding 10 RPM, doesn't it? And we're already starting off at exercise level effort, so that really elevates into more challenging exercise just by accelerating the legs. You can hear my breathing. Let's do it again. You ready? In 3, in 2, and 1. Come up to 100 again. Now back to 90 RPM. And we'll just hold here for about another minute. Just a little bit less. And yeah, we tired out the legs with those 2 accelerations. So this 90 RPM does not feel the same anymore as it did before. The legs are more tired. It's a harder effort now. Take your resistance down to light. Sit up tall for a second. Drink some water now. Notice what your breathing is doing. If you have a heart rate monitor on, you can check that now. Let's now do hard efforts, but at slow pedal speed, which is to say, let's mimic what it feels like to climb some steep hills. Hard effort, just at slower pedal speed, that means heavier resistance. So we're going to mimic what it feels like to drag our bike's weight and our body's weight against gravity uphill. Because as we propel ourselves up a hill, we have to overcome the weight of the bike and our bodies. That's why hills are hard. Let's settle back onto the handlebars. I always recommend you get your hands to the middle like this. Still keeping the elbows slightly bent and the shoulders away from the ears, but if you put your hands in the middle like this, it gives you more leverage through the hips because of the more upright back. We'll establish a cadence between 60 and 70 RPM. And then add resistance that feels like you're struggling to turn the pedals, and that you couldn't do this more than 10 minutes or so. Let's just allow our bodies to settle into this. I want you to really focus on scraping the ball of your foot through the bottom of the pedal stroke, and really focus on driving the hip over the top of the pedal stroke into the heel of the foot. That gives us so many more muscles we can put to use in climbing rather than just the quads. And yeah, your breathing will start picking up already. If you can, it's a beautiful time to visualize the road right in front of you with the line just to your right. You're just hugging the line as the road curves upwards. That's your guide, that yellow line. No need to look at the top. That line will take you there. Let's stand into the pedals by adding more resistance and rising up into it, holding the same cadence, but now letting the body transfer into the pedals through the glutes. Now come back down to seated climbing, reducing the resistance from the standing portion. Check in with your muscles right now. If you're having a really, really hard time holding this cadence, you can reduce it now. Reduce your resistance, I mean. I'm having a hard time, but I can do it. But I am getting very much out of breath now. And my muscles are starting to feel swollen, kind of big. Step through all the way in your pedal strokes now. So important. One more standing. And 3, and 2, and 1. Add it in. Rise into it. Check your hands. Make sure they're light on the bars. Now back to our final section for seated. Just a little bit more. And 3, and 2, and 1. Down and way back to light resistance. Wonderful. Sit up nice and tall like I am. Keep the legs turning. Just put a number on your breathing. 1 to 10. That your breathing is correlated with your heart rate, and all of that is correlated with the percentage of your maximum heart rate. The heavier you're breathing, the higher your heart rate, the closer you are to your maximum heart rate. How'd your legs feel during that? Mine went from weirdly uncomfortable, and this is hard, to kind of swollen feeling and more numb as my heart rate climbed up and up. And that's a familiar feeling to me, that kind of numb feeling in the legs as you work your way up a hill, coupled with really out of breathness. Now when you're sprinting or going really fast on a flat road with hard effort, I don't get that numb feeling. I get more of an acute discomfort, pain almost. But in climbing, it's just kind of a numb feeling. I start to lose my power when I get really tired, but not that acute pain. Okay, feel free to stand up, take a stretch. You can do that whenever you like. Takes a little pressure off the sit bones, and you can stretch your calves a little bit, which always feels nice. Let's bring our legs to 90 RPM again with working levels of resistance. And any residual heaviness in the legs, let's spin out right now. As we take this opportunity to just close our eyes if it feels comfortable. Just focus on our points of contact with the bike. The hands. See how much you can get from just your hands alone on the handlebars. Certainly there's a sensation of weight, but can you feel the texture of the handlebars? With your eyes closed, can you see what your fingers are doing? What position they're all in? I just noticed my little pinky on this hand was touching the underside of the bar. I didn't notice that before. Now coming up the arms, through the elbows, checking for that slight bend in the elbow. I wish I could have my bike sideways to you sometimes, so you could see that slight bend in the elbow. It's about like this. That's what the bend is like, but you see it from straight on. And now to your shoulders, away from the ears, of course. Spine is neutral. I'm definitely at a working level right now. Adjust your resistance so this feels like working level. And let's spend 15 seconds visualizing the different muscle groups engaging around the circle of the pedal stroke. The quads pressing down, calves and hamstrings scraping through, hip flexors unweighting the pedal, and hips pushing you over the top. 15 seconds to visualize all that as best you can. In your mind's eye, see that happening in the muscles. Let's talk about where we are with our exertion level right now. My breath is slowly climbing with this level of exertion. My sweat is not going away, it's increasing. Now I could hold this a while, but if I were to hold this for a significant amount of time, it would be hard riding. Like, this is a hard effort for me. And if you said do it for 45 minutes, I'd be like, wow, that's gonna be really hard. If you said do it for half an hour, I'd be like, that's pretty hard. This is the kind of effort that keeps my heart rate climbing little by little. And I breathe intentionally through it, through my belly. Thinking about that oxygen coming into the lungs, getting exchanged into the bloodstream, the blood carrying it to the working muscles. I really see that in my mind's eye. When I breathe out, I see in my mind's eye carbon dioxide, the byproduct of the working muscles. Coming out in my breath. I'm bringing in the air filled with oxygen that exchanges, travels through the blood. The carbon dioxide from the working muscles gets into the blood, comes to the lungs, gets exchanged. Breathe out. It's a lovely thing. I'm getting more and more sweaty right now. My legs are going through this interesting transition. Right now I can feel it in the muscles. Number and number. You might want to try this hand position. Cyclists use this one all the time, where they put their hands out on the hoods like this. You might want to try that. Too often, but every now and then I like it. It brings my back down a little bit. Normally I'm back here with a more upright back. Getting my hands out here on the hoods of the brakes, as they call them, gets me a little more aerodynamic, and I can feel the difference in my pedal stroke right now. It's a different feeling. The muscles engage differently. closing my eyes now and noticing. I'm noticing sweat is dripping down my forehead a lot right now. My legs actually feel better now than they did, say, 2 minutes ago. My breath is increasing. Sweat is now dripping off my face and onto my glasses. And onto my bike. This is a perfect time to notice your thoughts. I think it's okay to pay attention to the sweat on your forehead. I think it's okay to pay attention to how your muscles are feeling. Those are good body awareness focal points. What I think we want to notice is when our mind goes forward to stressful situations or goes back in time to stressful situations, we want to try to catch that. And you may have noticed that you've transitioned into a more stable, steady state now. Kind of made it through the hard part of the beginning of this. And now you're into something that feels more sustainable. If so, congratulations. That's a place not many people get, because that first hard part keeps them from accessing this. And 3, 2, and 1. Take your resistance down to super light. Sweat pouring off my forehead right now. Time for us to cool down. My heart rate is very high. My breathing is probably 7 or 8. On a 1 to 10 scale, my heart rate is very high. I can feel it. Just pedaling very easily, very slowly. Remember that we keep our legs moving so that the muscles are still contracting just at a light level. And that muscle contraction helps squeeze blood back towards the heart. If we stopped contracting those muscles completely and suddenly, they wouldn't be squeezing the venules and miniature veins and moving the blood along in them towards the main veins, which then bring it to the heart. So that's one of the benefits of just keeping this light contraction of the muscles. And plus, we just don't want to come to a sudden stop. We want to let the heart slowly come back towards normal. You may not know this, but veins have valves in them, so that when blood moves past the valve, it can't go backwards down the vein. So it's a way of keeping blood moving towards the heart, and there are valves that stop it from coming backwards. So when we squeeze the muscles, we're pushing blood past those valves, and now it's made it a further distance towards the heart. Arteries don't have those valves. They don't need them. Blood in the arteries is under very high pressure, and the valves would just slow down the distribution of that oxygenated and nutrient-rich blood out to all the muscles and organs. But once that blood has gone into all the capillary beds and lost all of its pressure, there's no pressure to drive it back to the heart. That's why the muscles help out in that, and that's why there are valves in the veins. Now the heart has valves. The heart has valves, for sure. Those are a different story. All right, how's your breathing right now? Let's let our legs come to a stop. And just celebrate the beautiful ride we had this morning. 42 minutes of beautiful cycling. Let's stand up and stretch our calves. We're going to stretch our calves together, and then I'll let you stretch your hamstrings and quads on your own. I'll leave the music playing for you, since we're a little over time. Okay, switch the back foot to the front. Drop your heels again. Feel the stretch in the calves. Well done. Stretch your quads and your calves, hamstrings. Take your time to breathe. Drink your water. Good ride. I'll see you next time. All right, we'll see you next time. Thank you for being here.